Legend tells of a ring.
It was made in the fires of Mount Doom. Only there.
Must do. I'm afraid to do it.
One does not simply walk into Mordor.
There is no something down there.
When The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, arrived in 2001, it did not simply introduce audiences to another fantasy world. It opened the gates to a cinematic mythology that felt ancient, lived in, and spiritually immense. Directed by Peter Jackson and adapted from the first volume of The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, the film carries the weight of literary reverence while embracing the visual ambition of epic cinema. From its very first moments, the story situates us in a history shaped by power, pride, and corruption. The forging of the Rings of Power becomes not just backstory, but a warning etched into the foundation of Middle-earth. Elves, dwarves, and men once believed they could harness strength beyond measure, yet it was the Dark Lord Sauron who secretly crafted the One Ring to dominate them all. That act of deception and conquest reverberates through centuries, leading to war, temporary victory, and ultimately the ring's disappearance into legend. The film's prologue compresses ages into minutes, yet it never feels rushed. We witness the rise of Sauron's armies, the desperate alliance of elves and men, and the moment when Isildur cuts the ring from Sauron's hand. Instead of destroying it, he claims it, and in that decision, the tragedy of the entire saga is born. The ring slips from him, betrays him, and vanishes into the depths of a river, waiting. Time passes, kingdoms fall, and the ring becomes a whisper. When it is eventually discovered by the creature Gollum, its corruptive influence transforms him into something wretched and consumed. The ring is less an object than a sentient force, bending wills, amplifying ambition, and feeding on weakness. The story narrows from cosmic warfare to pastoral serenity as we arrive in the Shire, a place of rolling green hills and simple pleasures. Hobbits are introduced not as warriors or rulers, but as gentle souls devoted to food, comfort, and community. Among them is Frodo Baggins, portrayed with quiet resolve by Elijah Wood. His uncle Bilbo, played by Ian Holm, carries a secret. He possesses the ring, unaware of its full history. The wizard Gandalf, embodied with warmth and gravitas by Ian McKellen, suspects the truth. What unfolds is a gradual revelation rather than an abrupt shock. Gandalf researches ancient lore, confirms the ring's identity, and recognizes the danger now resting in the Shire. The tonal shift from idyllic celebration to looming dread is masterfully handled. Bilbo's birthday party, filled with fireworks and humor, becomes the setting for quiet alarm. When Gandalf throws the ring into Frodo's fire and the black speech appears glowing across its surface, the threat becomes tangible. The ring is Sauron's instrument, and Sauron is rising again. His servants, the Nazgul, spectral riders in black, are already searching. Frodo's inheritance is not wealth or land, but a burden that could enslave the world. Frodo's departure from the Shire marks the beginning of a journey defined by vulnerability rather than heroism. He is joined by Samwise Gamgee, portrayed by Sean Astin, whose loyalty anchors the emotional core of the film. Two more hobbits, Merry and Pippin, add impulsiveness and heart. The early chapters of their escape carry tension built from pursuit rather than battle. The Black Riders are relentless, their presence announced through shrieks and shadow. The crossing of fields, forests, and fairy docks becomes suspenseful because these are not trained warriors fleeing. They are ordinary beings thrust into extraordinary peril. The film expands its scope when Aragorn enters the narrative. played by Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn is introduced not as a crowned king, but as a weathered ranger known as Strider. There is mystery in him, restraint, and an undercurrent of hidden lineage. Through him, the story begins to intertwine personal destiny with collective survival. At the inn in Bree, danger escalates, trust is tested, and the hobbits learn that the world beyond their borders is harsher than they imagined. One of the film's defining strengths lies in its transitions between intimacy and grandeur. When the Nazgul attack at Weathertop and Frodo is wounded by a Morgul blade, the stakes intensify. His wound is not simply physical, it threatens to draw him into the shadow world. The race to Rivendell becomes a desperate sprint against time, culminating in Arwen's intervention and the flood that sweeps the riders away. Rivendell, home of the elves, offers a visual contrast to the rustic Shire and the grim tension of pursuit. Its architecture and light evoke timeless wisdom. The Council of Elrond serves as a philosophical and narrative pivot. Representatives of elves, dwarves, and men debate the ring's fate. Boromir, played by Sean Bean, argues for using it as a weapon. Aragorn resists that temptation. Gandalf insists it must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom, where it was forged. The ring cannot be wielded without corruption. The council scene crystallizes the central theme: power tempts even the noble. When Frodo volunteers to bear the ring, his courage is understated yet monumental. The Fellowship is formed, 9 companions against 9 riders, symbolizing unity across races and histories. As the Fellowship departs, the film adopts the structure of a quest while maintaining character-driven tension. Their attempt to cross the mountain of Caradhras fails under supernatural resistance. The choice to pass through the mines of Moria introduces one of the film's most atmospheric sequences. Moria is vast, silent, and haunted by the remnants of dwarven ambition. The revelation that the dwarves have fallen underscores a recurring motif. Civilizations crumble when confronted by greed and darkness. In Moria, the Fellowship confronts orcs and a cave troll, but the true terror emerges in the form of the Balrog. Gandalf's confrontation on the bridge of Khazad-dûm is among the most iconic moments in fantasy cinema. His stand against a creature of ancient fire elevates him from mentor to martyr. When he falls into shadow after declaring that the Balrog shall not pass, the Fellowship's unity fractures under grief. The loss reverberates, reminding viewers that this journey carries irreversible cost. Emerging from Moria into the golden woods of Lothlorien, the Fellowship finds both refuge and reflection. Galadriel's presence introduces another dimension of power, ethereal, restrained, and perilously aware of the ring's allure. Her brief temptation when Frodo offers her the ring becomes a meditation on self-mastery. She chooses to diminish rather than dominate, reinforcing the idea that true strength often lies in renunciation. As the journey continues toward the River Anduin, internal conflict begins to surface. Boromir's struggle intensifies. His homeland faces invasion, and he believes the ring could save his people. The film does not present him as villainous, but as tragically human. The ring exploits his fear and patriotism. When he attempts to seize it from Frodo, the illusion of perfect fellowship shatters. Frodo recognizes that the ring's presence will only sow further discord. The climax is not a triumphant victory, but a painful division. Orcs attack. Boromir redeems himself through sacrifice while defending Merry and Pippin, and Aragorn confronts both enemy and destiny. Frodo ultimately chooses to continue the journey alone, understanding that the burden isolates him. Yet Sam's refusal to abandon him reinforces the emotional thesis of the film. Friendship endures even where hope thins. What distinguishes this film is not merely scale, but coherence. The landscapes of New Zealand become Middle-earth with astonishing credibility. Practical effects, detailed costumes, and sweeping musical composition combine to create immersion rather than spectacle for its own sake. The score by Howard Shore binds cultures and emotions with recurring motifs, ensuring that the narrative feels symphonic rather than episodic. Beyond accolades, the enduring impact of the Fellowship of the Ring lies in its moral architecture. It presents power as inherently corrosive, yet insists that humility can counterbalance ambition. It acknowledges fear without surrendering to despair. Frodo is not chosen because he is the strongest, but because he is willing. The Fellowship fractures, yet the mission persists. The ring promises dominion, but the narrative celebrates restraint. In retrospect, the film's first installment functions both as a complete story and as the opening movement of a larger epic. It closes not with resolution, but with separation and resolve. Frodo and Sam move eastward, the remaining members pursue captured friends, and the shadow grows. The sense of continuation is deliberate, inviting audiences deeper into the myth. More than 20 decades later, the Fellowship of the Ring remains a benchmark for epic storytelling. It respects its source material while embracing the possibilities of cinema. It balances action with introspection, spectacle with intimacy. It reminds viewers that even in worlds filled with wizards and monsters, the decisive battles occur within the heart. And in that quiet truth, the journey of a small hobbit from the Shire becomes one of the most resonant adventures ever placed on screen.